Hello and welcome back to the show, Debt Rebel. I am so glad that you are here. Today's episode is going to be about your tax return. Okay, so one of the questions that I get asked a lot is, what do I do with my tax return money? Or maybe it's not just your tax return money. Maybe it's you got a substantial amount of money just deposited into your account. And yes, it might be on purpose. It might be an inheritance or something like that. But if you come into a surplus of cash that you weren't expecting, what is the next step? What do you do with that? So today we're going to talk about that. And if you haven't had a chance yet, I would absolutely love for you to hit that follow button. Thank you so much for sharing this show with your friends and family, because one of the ways that I know that this show is helping you and your family is when you share it with others and hitting that review button. The more people that this show reaches is my heart's passion behind this show is to help families just eliminate the burden of debt, because for us, that is how our life changed in a very dramatic way, was eliminating our debt. And so that when our youngest daughter came along, we were able to show up for her and for ourselves and our family in a very different way than if we had to exchange our time for paying for yesterday. So paying for debt. And so thank you for taking the time to share that with someone that's close to you that could benefit from this info. So it's also really helpful when you share this.
Welcome to the Debt Rebel podcast, where we discuss the ins and outs of personal finance for families so you can eliminate the burden of debt, create financial margins, and learn a new way to interact with your money. I'm your host, Jewlz The Budget Nerd, and I have been in your shoes. My husband and I have paid off over $107,000 in consumer debt until we finally threw in the towel and decided it wasn't for us. Throughout our journey, we learned another way to do life without debt, and that's my hope for you. You can learn more about our story and see full show notes on my website, jewlzthebudgetnerd.com. That's JEWLZ, thebudgetnerd.com. Now let's dive into today's episode.
So today we're going to dive in and talk about tax returns, because this is, if you're listening to this show, then you're most likely a parent, which means you can get some additional tax credits for claiming children as dependents on your taxes. And so why I am not a tax accountant or a tax professional whatsoever, my area of expertise is within the budgeting and debt elimination area. And so as a financial coach, this is where I encourage my clients to, when they get a surplus of cash, whether it's a tax return or something else, this is how I encourage them to use it, because this is how our family did and got us to where we are today. So first off, if you do not have a small emergency fund set aside, that is the very first thing to do. So if you don't have $1,000 set aside, that is absolutely the first thing I would do. And so if you've been listening to the show, it's very Dave Ramsey, if you've heard of him, because that is the process that we went through. And so this show is about how we've taken the baby steps and applied them to our life, and how I coach and teach my clients to use those steps to apply to their situation. So that $1,000 is going to help you keep from using your credit cards. So you might not be able to get them paid off with a tax return, but it's going to help create that buffer, a little bit of breathing room for you so that you can get to work on eliminating that debt. And so we've talked about it recently on the show, there are two things in life that are very guaranteed. It's death and taxes. And so today, talking about our tax return is how to spend that money wisely so that we can get financially organized, we can put things in their proper place and get a plan in place so that we can eliminate the burden of debt, but also just create some peace of mind for ourselves and for our family, and be able to show up in a way that feels so much better to us, that allows us to have some mental and emotional capacity to be there for our family and our friends and our work and anything else that you want to do with your life and spend the way you want to spend your time. So first off, that $1,000 emergency fund. And then second is the debt snowball. And the reason why I encourage the debt snowball is it's exactly what we did to eliminate our $107,000 of debt. And so it's just putting your debts in order from smallest to largest based on the balance. And then you're going to pay the minimums on all of them except for that top one. And so, for instance, with your tax return, if you use your $1,000 and put that in a savings account that's easily accessible, then say, for instance, you get a $2,500 tax return, that first $1,000 is going to be easily accessible in that savings account or that checking account that you can get to very quickly within minutes or a trip to the bank. And then that $1,500 that's going to be left over from that $2,500 tax return, that's going to go towards your debt. So if your smallest one is maybe it has a payment of $25, then you're going to put minimums on all of them except for that top one. You're going to put is whatever that $1,500 that you have left, you're going to put the rest of that on there. Say, for instance, you have 4 debts that have $50 minimums on each of them. And the minimum for that first one is $25, for example. All right. So this part is going to, because you're listening to this and maybe you're driving or you're doing some sort of house chore, or maybe you're going for a walk or you're at the gym, whatever you're doing right now, it might be a little bit challenging to visualize this if you're not a numbers nerd like myself, but we're going to talk about what to do with that $1,500 that you have left over. So say, for instance, each one of you have 4 debts and the bottom 3, so the ones with the highest balances, the minimum payments add up on that to $500. So that top one is going to have the smallest balance, but you have $1,000 left to spend because that depending on what your balance is on that, you're going to pay off that first one and then move on to the next one. And if you still have money left over, you're going to keep going and keep going and keep going until you have that $1,500 spent. So I'm going to put a visual on Instagram so you can check that out and see how the debt snowball works. If you want to get some more guidance in that area, I would absolutely love to help you. You can send me a message on Instagram at Jewlz The Budget Nerd. You can always connect with me there, or I would love to have you inside the coaching membership if that's something that you're like, hey, you know what? I've been listening to the show for a while, and I really would love to have some more. I would really love to have some more help. That's where I show up every single month. There is an online message board that you're able to submit questions there, and I can answer those. Or when we have our lives, we have live Q&A, or we have our budget co-working times, you're able to pop in there and ask those questions and get personal guidance based on where you are in your debt elimination journey. And maybe you are debt free and you're like, hey, this is something I want to continue to work on my finances. The coaching membership isn't just for those that want to be debt free. If you want to continue to learn how to use your money wisely and how to align it with what matters most to you, that's what the coaching membership is all about. So whether that is creating some more experiences for you and your family, or if it is creating a bigger savings account for yourself so that you have the financial stability and the financial freedom that you have worked so hard for, that's also a perfect place to get plugged in with other people that are working on their finances as well. It is a safe place to talk about your money. And that's one of the things, even though our culture says that we need to do things a certain way, that's why I call myself a debt rebel, because I feel like it only makes sense if it makes sense. And to me, paying for things that we have already done doesn't make sense when we could just pay for them today in the moment. So if that sounds like something that you're interested in and you want to learn more about that, all that info is on my website, and we will talk to you soon. I hope that this episode about taxes and how to spend your tax return has been good for you. If you love this episode or the show in general, I would love it if you would give me a 5-star review and share it with your friends and family who might need a little extra support in the area of their finances. And we will talk to you soon.
Thank you for listening to the Debt Rebel podcast. Now, if you want to take your next step, check out my website, jewlzthebudgetnerd.com. That's JEWLZ, thebudgetnerd.com. I've created a bunch of resources just for you. So hop on over, check it out, and we can connect more there. If you loved today's episode, I would be honored if you would hit that subscribe button and leave me a review. And remember, every step towards financial independence is a rebellion against debt. So stay strong, keep pushing forward, and fight the good fight. Until next time, Debt Rebels, stay resilient.